And you're good.
All right, we got a big couple of days coming up. Tonight is the State of the Union with Joe Biden, which is going to be interesting to see if he can keep it together for an hour plus. Not a full house, because of COVID. There's only going to be 100 Congress people and 100 senators, so there won't be quite the buzz in the room. This was something, by the way, Trump was really good at, having the people up there in the balcony, the wounded soldiers or kids whose parents died in the line of duty or whatever. He was really good at that. Or Rush Limbaugh. I'm not sure who Biden will have up there. I'm not sure if he'll take his mask off or take his sunglasses off. Yesterday, he did a press conference wearing a mask on the way to the podium and wearing sunglasses, which was a little strange, but hey, whatever it takes. It's all about image and optics.
He did that like half jog walk. He starts.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's the old man jog, the old stiff old man walk, old man jog. It was kind of an uncomfortable press conference, and he actually got a real question or two from the usual crowd of sycophants in the media. But we'll get to that. First, I want to do, because tomorrow night, big day in the NFL. It's draft day tomorrow night for first round. A lot of buzz about quarterbacks and maybe the Patriots taking a quarterback, trading up. The first three picks are supposed to be quarterbacks, but I'm going to give you the Max Kellerman preview of the NFL draft. Are you ready for this? This is I took a look at Max's notes, and he's got his mock draft and his prediction. I'm going to give you Max Kellerman's prediction for tomorrow night's draft. You ready, Callahan?
I'm ready for it.
All right, here we go. Ready? I'm just going to go through the top 12 or so. The first of the first round. Ready? White guy, black 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 guy, white guy.
Yeah, so no
black guy.
No names or skill sets attached to it.
No, who cares? Oh, who cares about names or skill sets? My antenna is up. This to me is this is a good thing, because Max Kellerman is a clown, is a joke, and there's another guy at ESPN. He writes for ESPN magazine named Mackenzie. I got his name here. I'll get his last name. He writes for ESPN magazine, and we can read you what he wrote. But he said that the NFL is determined to make the position white again. He said they want the position to be as white as the lines on the field. Now, I realize that if you're in the woke mob, if you work at ESPN, everything has to be about race. Everything. Obviously the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin trial wasn't about race. Race was barely mentioned, but they had to make it about race because that's what they do. In their mind, race sells. Everything has to be divided along race. The biggest race hustler in the whole country, Joe Biden, made it about race. Kamala Harris made it about race, and all the usual acolytes in the media made it about race. But at this point, making the NFL draft and the decisions NFL teams make, making it seem as if they are choosing white guys because they're white, is a little nuts. And I understand it works. I understand Max Kellerman makes more money than I do. I understand he's getting paid well to do this kind of thing, to be a race baiter. And he does it, and consistently does it without any thought. But he said his antenna is up because there might be 3 white guys taken at the top of the draft. Seriously, there might be 20 black guys taken after those 3 white guys, but that doesn't matter. Somehow he thinks, and nobody doubts that Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are going 1-2, and nobody's accusing the Jags or the Jets of picking them because they're white. It's the number 3 pick that matters. San Francisco traded up. They're taking a quarterback. It's Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and I guess Justin Fields. And if they go Mac Jones, which is the favorite, I believe Adam Schefter said that it's all but a done deal, that they're taking Mac Jones, who has been called the smartest quarterback by some scouts they've ever seen, ever talked to. He's got the dad bod. He's got the Brady coming out of Michigan, he's not ripped. He's not a great athlete. He's not great. Doesn't have great speed or great feet, but he's supposedly very, very smart and very, very accurate. And as we know, those are the two most important qualities in a quarterback in the NFL. And if Kyle Shanahan loves him, I'm going to guess there's a good reason for that. And if he takes him, there's a good chance that Jimmy Garoppolo immediately goes on the market, which is why people in New England are fascinated by this. But it just amazed me. I was following all the analysis and the predictions. I like this. I like especially watching, young quarterbacks playing the NFL is one of the most entertaining things you can do as a sports fan. It just blows my mind that there are people getting paid to look at this and say, well, not arm strength, not accuracy, not intelligence, not foot speed, not, how well did he do on the Wonderlic? It's what color is his skin?
What has, by the way, what has Mel Kiper Jr. been doing all these years? I mean, that seems like a factor that he missed out on for all these.
Maybe, 30, 40, 50 years ago, you'd say, their favorite, they look at him and he's black, so they don't think he could do, the job as a quarterback. They would move him to wide out or move him to tight end or something. But those days are so far gone. We'll talk to Bobby Burak from Outkick about this because he had a really good piece, as he often does. He's the media critic and kind of the culture critic at Outkick. And he pointed out that the top 4 paid quarterbacks in the NFL are all black. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, and not only highest paid, but just the best. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, the best. He's the best. And Aaron Rodgers, by the way, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, the two top white quarterbacks, they both famously slipped in the draft. Brady, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, went in the 6th round. Rodgers went the end of the 1st round, famously sitting in the green room, sweating it out. I guess they didn't get some kind of advantage because they were white on draft day, Max Kellerman. But before we get to Max's idiotic quote, this guy, I've never heard of him, Martenzie Johnson, a writer for ESPN. He writes for The Undefeated, some website, ESPN website that nobody reads. And he writes, when it comes to black quarterbacks in particular, the NFL has long gone out of its way to keep the position as white as the painted yard lines on the field. That is, and again, Bobby Burak wrote about this and brought it to my attention. I would never have seen it otherwise, but an editor read that and said, let's go with it. A position which is dominated by young, great, promising young black quarterbacks. And they take, obviously, Trevor Lawrence as a generational talent. We know Zach Wilson is a stud. And they're deciding between Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. And they're saying, and these guys, Martenzie Johnson and Kellerman, are just saying, you better be careful with that, 49ers, because if you take Mac Jones, considered one of the smartest quarterbacks ever, we're ready. We're coming down on you. And I tweeted about this, and someone pointed out that the next 15 or 20 picks will all be black guys, and no one will think anything of it. They're picking on merit. It's a very important decision. NFL teams don't make their decisions based on race, Max Kellerman, you freaking clown.
Well, Max Kellerman's an opinion guy, right? So he could have the balls to say, hey, even the Jaguars, right? If he wants black quarterbacks to be the centerpiece of this league or whatever, or shown more respect, he could call on the Jags right now and say, you shouldn't be drafting Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence should be fall down the draft to whatever pick. You know what I mean?
That's true. He doesn't know anything about them. He doesn't know anything about them as quarterbacks, as players. He's just this ultimate, pinhead liberal who says, they traded up and now they're going to take that white guy from Alabama. My antenna's up. Do you have him saying this?
Oh, yeah.
Let's listen to Max Kellerman talking about doing his draft evaluation.
What I've noticed in recent years, after decades of artificial barriers being put in place for black quarterbacks, that vis-a-vis white quarterbacks, black quarterbacks in the draft tend to fall pre-draft, their evaluations. And sometimes it's right, like Daniel Jones looks like he's going to be better than Dwayne Haskins. And sometimes it's wrong, like Mitch Trubisky is not as good as Deshaun Watson, or certainly not Patrick Mahomes, right? But I say Watson because he seemed to be the guy falling and Trubisky the guy rising, and Mahomes maybe didn't do either. But the point is the correlation that can be made is that your status falls vis-a-vis white quarterbacks. And so that's why my antenna are up when I notice 1, 2, and 3 this year, white guy, right? But that may be correct. Like, we need to see, in the end, we need to see how these guys turn out as pros. Sure, when you survey the
Okay. All right. So if Mac Jones turns out to be a good pro and Justin Fields is not, I'm sure Max will come on and say, I was wrong to focus on race. That was stupid. Now, did Hasselbeck or Stephen A say anything to him, or do they just nod? Because that's what you do. When someone says something idiotic about race, when some race hustling liberal like Max Kellerman makes this stretch, it's a real stretch to make this about race. You just nod and you go, yeah, good point. I mean, here's the list of just a brief list of guys who went number 1 overall: Jameis Winston, Jamarcus Russell, Cam Newton, Kyler Murray, Michael Vick. Some of them worked out, some not so much. Does he look back on that and say, boy, they shouldn't have taken a black guy? They should have probably taken I mean, it's just, at some point you have to say we're beyond it. At some point you have to say the NFL is beyond it. I know that's not in Max Kellerman's mind ever to say this is really not about race. But again, if the first 3 guys are white and the next 20 are black, does his antenna go up? Does he say, oh, they didn't take any white guys after number 3 in the draft? And if Mac Jones and Zach Wilson and they all work out well, they all play well, does he go back and say, boy, that was stupid what I said about race? And by the way, his antenna's up. Meaning what? So he's going to say something tomorrow or Friday morning and say, I don't like this. Mac Jones is white and Justin Fields slipped all the way to 10. It's just idiotic. And it's mindless. It's like, I will sound, like enlightened. I will sound like I'm genuinely concerned about a problem in the NFL when he knows there is no problem, when he knows the biggest stars in the game are young black quarterbacks. I said Lamar Jackson. I think I meant Dak Prescott is the second highest. Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Lamar Jackson. These are the biggest stars in the game, the biggest attractions in the game. There's no team, hell, there's no fan saying, I don't like the guy because he's black. It's just insane. But nobody cares. Nobody corrects him. To be a woke fool is never to be never having to apologize, never having to go look back and what you said and realize how stupid it is. But
it's also just not that complicated. I mean, usually mock drafts play out pretty accurately. You know who the best player coming into a draft is, and who number 1's going to be every single time. You know what I mean? There's weird situations where
right. That's why it's all about number 3, and it's all about the 49ers trading up. But the idea that Kyle Shanahan, this QB guru, and John Lynch and the evaluators in San Fran looking at it and ever spending 1 second thinking, well, I don't know, I like the white guy. Just bizarre. You wouldn't succeed in the NFL as a GM or a coach if that was a factor. I mean, if you looked at it and said, I really like Justin Fields, but he's black. I mean, you'd last 3 days. You couldn't do that. It is one of the great meritocracies in America. You have to perform or you're out, whether you're a coach, a player, a GM. And if they say, I'm waiting for Max to say, oh, they're calling Mac Jones really smart. You know what that means? That means he's white. They wouldn't say that about. And then you look at Patrick Mahomes. When I watch him play, I think he's really, really smart. Of course, he's really athletic and he's really talented and he's just an amazing, amazing quarterback. But I don't look at it and say, what if a guy is mixed race? What does Max say about that? Oh, I like him, but not as much as the guy who's it's just so stupid. It's such a dead end, but it doesn't matter. You're on ESPN, you get paid handsomely. And
what plays, right? They know what plays, not necessarily on television, because we already know the ratings on TV just suck and they don't matter, but that's what people are talking about today. So he knows how to get the attention. It's kind of like Bill Maher. I mean, Bill Maher gets the attention of the internet to get people over to his YouTube. I'm sure his numbers on HBO aren't fantastic. So Kellerman got it down to a science now.
Here's what I'll say, that Bill Maher has put some thought into it, and he
Yeah.
occasionally holds it up to the light, and he takes a view that you don't expect. Tell me the last time Max Kellerman threw you a curveball. Tell me the last time Max Kellerman said anything.
No,
that you
but in
didn't
fairness, how
expect.
many people have the balls to say something as stupid as that? You know what I mean? Like, at least
It doesn't take balls. I disagree. It doesn't take balls. It takes balls to say the opposite, to say that race is absolutely not a factor in the NFL when they're evaluating quarterbacks. It used to be. It is not anymore. You're an idiot. That would take balls. But do you think anybody other than Bobby Burak and us and maybe one or two other people even call him out on this? It's just insane. I mean, that's not. Here's where we are, and I'll give you my transition here to Joe Rogan and masks and everything else. It on a daily basis, it blows my mind what is controversial and what is not in cable TV news, on social media, on ESPN, whatever. But you can warn the NFL that if they pick a white guy at number 3, you're coming after them. My antenna's up. I'm going to be watching you. I'm watching you, Kyle Shanahan. You picked a doughy white guy from Alabama. I'm coming for you. Like he has any clue who's better quarterback. That's okay. But Joe Rogan, and I'm serious when I say this. It was on out there viral. It was on Twitter. It was on social media. I didn't listen to the podcast, but I did listen to the cut from Joe Rogan, and didn't think anything of it. It's something I have said. It's something many, many people have said. Turtle Boy, I'm sure we've said it many times. Why do young people, young, healthy, thin, fit people, and I include you in that, and every time I mention it, you say, you got asthma. And I guess you're not that young.
Second shot tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, you were excited?
I'm excited, but my wife thinks I have to take Friday off because I'm going to be sick. So, hey, listen,
you expecting side effects?
That's what she tells me. She tells me I'm going to be sick, but I don't know.
But just do what you're told. I do.
Yes,
but I've been saying it, for as long as there's been a vaccine, since December, that young, healthy people don't need it. They don't get it, and if they do get it, some of them don't know it. We went over the numbers one day when there were 48,000 last fall. 48,000 college students tested positive. 2 went to the hospital. 48,000, 2 went to the hospital. 0 died. 0 were on a ventilator. It is not a factor for young people. They don't need the vaccine. Is this going to get yanked down by YouTube now if I say that?
Probably. But also, like, for every one Gerry Callahan or Joe Rogan who says this, by the way, which is an opinion, it's not you're not saying something. I mean, you believe it's fact, but it's still you just giving your opinion. You're not a fucking doctor.
No, you're right. It's an opinion because I mean, there is like one kid, like I believe in Indonesia. He's 18. He got sick. He died. So the other 700 million kids need to get vaccinated because it happens. There are a number of children who've died from the virus, almost all of them with serious underlying conditions. Healthy 20, 18, 19, 15, 16-year-olds. Hell, like I said, Little League Baseball is requiring 12-year-olds to be vaccinated. Colleges everywhere, as soon as one did it, you knew the rest would do it, are requiring vaccines to come back in the fall. Even if kids already had it and they have the antibodies, it's nuts. But the system, has decided.
I just mean for every Gerry Callahan and every Joe Rogan who have big audience that they talk to every day, there's a million people saying the exact opposite to their audiences, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just opinions. Like, listen to an opinion and figure it out for yourself what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with saying this shit. And that's why the backlash is insane.
And I've said, all along that the biggest anti-vaxxer is Dr. Fauci, the one that keeps telling you nothing changes. You got to wear masks. You can't go out. You can't go to games, concerts. You got to be careful. And you're going, what? And I know Tucker does this every night. And lots of people are doing it, but it's such a simple question. And they don't answer it. If the vaccine is effective, and we believe it is, why does nothing change when you get it? Why? And I mean, they came out with a statement yesterday, the CDC, that said it's because if there are people who didn't get vaccinated, they won't know who they can go near because they don't know who's been vaccinated. So everyone should wear a mask. It should be just the opposite. If you don't wear a mask, that means you've been vaccinated. And again, what's the incentive? If you tell them nothing changes, what's the incentive to getting the shot? And if so, I guess I'll never understand this. I will never understand it. I feel like I've read up, I've watched a lot. Why do you care? Like, you're going to be vaccinated tomorrow. In 2 weeks, you're going to be fine. You're going to be immune. You're not getting the virus. What do you care if I do? Why do you care if I get vaccinated? If you're vaccinated, your wife is vaccinated, you're good. If I take a risk and
people believe that I still carry it and could give it to sick grandma or something like that.
It's nonsense. You don't carry it. You don't transmit it. You don't have it. You won't die from it. If you get it, just like with masks, if you're wearing a mask, why do you care if I do? It's just this incredible effort to control people, to make people to fall in line. And when they don't, it bothers people. It bothers media people. They're like aghast. I mean, you mentioned Rogan saying, or Tucker saying, that maybe you don't need it if you're young and healthy. Joy Reid went on and said she double masks when she jogs, and she's been vaccinated, and she doesn't go out and she doesn't socialize, even though she's been vaccinated. And I'm saying that's not a great message either. If you think it's a bad message for Rogan to say, healthy young kids don't need it. And by the way, he said both his children have had it and they got through it in like a day. They don't have a problem. So if that's where he's coming from, why do people demand the podcast be taken down? I mean, that was the immediate aftermath, reaction to it. Take it down. You don't want to hear a guy say, in his opinion, and by the way, you're right.
Well, they also sense opportunity. Spotify has had no problem taking other past content down. So if you have that opportunity, you're going to take it if you know it exists.
It's true. He's the biggest star out there, Spotify's biggest name. And if he does something, says something, and most of it is matter-of-factly, it's not really controversial. He's not breathing fire like Tucker does. He's just talking. And if they don't like it, the little woke minions at Spotify all get together and say, take that down. And so far as I can tell, Rogan does not kick and scream about it. He takes his $20 million a year and goes home happy at the end of the day. But at some point, doesn't Rogan have to say enough of this? I mean, he can't do a controversial podcast without his employer insisting they remove it, from the internet so nobody can hear it.
I mean, and he has to have all the leverage too. I think Spotify came out with their earnings this morning and their podcast numbers are through the roof specifically because of him. I guess you could probably say, I know we weren't the biggest fans of it, but the Obama Springsteen thing, I think, was a big hit for them.
Was it?
Globally, yes, it was a big hit.
Really?
But Rogan he is absolutely the revenue driver for all things podcast for Spotify. So he has leverage to start shit. He just chooses not to.
The things that made him what he is, or I wouldn't call him controversial, like huge controversies where they went, but just having Alex Jones on and having a conversation.
But can't you kind of see that though? Like this one would be a thing that would piss a guy like me off. Like I think this could be a thing that pisses. He's just having, and you can hear it in his voice, like he's having a casual conversation with a friend. He's almost like he's not being super forceful behind these words either. I'm not saying he's nervous what he's saying, but it's very like laissez-faire. It's very casual. It's all versus like, right. You know what to expect. You know you're going to take shit if you have Alex Jones on. You're kind of prepared of whatever's going to happen.
But I understand taking shit is fine, but taking it down is insane. And it's the impulse of so many people in the business. It's the scariest thing about the current woke culture. Not that they disagree with you, not that they want to, fight you, whatever. Not even that they want to, put you in jail if you trespassed on January 6th. The scariest thing is, I don't like what you're saying. I don't want anyone to hear it. That is the definition of un-American, and they don't even recognize it. These Spotify people are allegedly, well-educated. They should know.
It's dangerous rhetoric. It's the right rhetoric is to mask while you run outdoors.
To mask while you run outdoors, which is idiotic, but you're not even allowed to call it idiotic. You're supposed to say, hey, better safe than sorry. And they sit there and the same person, Joy Reid, says Tucker Carlson this is reckless endangerment. She wants him like charged with a crime for saying that you don't need to wear a mask outdoors, which we all know has been the case for a year. We all know it's been nothing but theater for a year. And finally, the president and our governor of Massachusetts, who's worse than the president when it comes to being his insane overreaction and the measures he takes to control the people of the state, came out and said on Friday you can go outside without a mask. He said this on Tuesday. Now, I need an answer. What's the difference in Tuesday and Friday? Why can't you say today you can go outside? Why do you have to wait 3 days? Why does it have to be this incremental opening up? Oh, in 3 weeks, we're going to allow you to go to concerts or games. And it goes forward till August. In August, we're going to allow, I don't know exactly what it was each step of the way, amusement parks, water parks, they can open in August. And I'm going, why don't you just say everything's open now?
Because
why do you have to wait?
It's because it's theater. They have 72 hours to basically build up the fact that, okay, now they're opening up. Now they're helping people. Now, you know what I mean? Like, they can look like a good guy for 72 hours instead of just literally in that they get that one headline.
He made the announcement yesterday early. I went out for a bike ride and I wanted to start yelling at people. Like Tucker said, yelling at people, you're wearing a mask, riding your bike in Boston on a breezy, sunny day. It's Tuesday. You're wearing a mask. On Friday, you're going to take it off. I just blows my mind that there are grown-ups, men, women, grown-ups who said, oh, good. The governor said I could take this piece of cloth off on Friday. I only have 3 more days to put it on, to be safe and patriotic. And then Friday, I can take it off and throw it away. Are you an idiot? That
is the best example of power right there, is that you can get people to obey your orders for 72 hours, even though that 72 hours means absolutely nothing in terms of their public health.
And the reason you change the policy is there's no science behind it. There never was. You've been lying. Charlie Baker has been lying for a year, just like Cuomo and Whitmer and Murphy and all Lamont, all of them have been lying for a year. They know there's no science behind wearing masks outdoors. They know there's no science behind insisting children wear masks. By the way, on the same day, I just looked at the CDC edict about summer camps for kids. I don't know if your kids are going to summer camp, but they're ordering all children must wear masks at all times at summer camp, except when they're swimming, eating, or drinking. So they're going to be out at summer camp, whatever, building popsicle stick cabins or playing, kickball, and they all must mask up on a warm summer day. It's madness. I assume if you're a good parent, you don't send your kid to those camps because you can stay home and play in the yard without a mask, but you can't at a summer camp. But we got to get to the Rogan thing and the Biden thing, because it's just so silly. I went for a bike ride along the river on the Esplanade in Boston. And there's a guy yesterday that I want to stop and ask these people, what is wrong with you? Playing guitar by himself and singing songs. He was like a typical band, barroom singer, singing. He was singing, I'm a believer, the Monkey song. And he sang some Jimmy Buffett songs. I was hanging out near him for a little while, and there was no one within 100 feet of him. He was by himself in the middle of the Esplanade singing songs, masked up. And I want to go up to him and go, why are you wearing a mask? Singing a song outdoors on a warm.
That's not a true story. Come on. He was not singing wearing the mask with no
singing. I couldn't stop staring at him. And I'm looking, I'm going, he's actually wearing a mask. I looked, there was nobody anywhere near him. And I was tempted to go up and say, explain this to me. I'm really struggling with this. But I would spend my whole day doing it because I was going to get to this. At least 90% of the people walking, jogging, biking in Boston yesterday, masked up. I'd say 95. After Baker said you could take the mask off Friday. So Tuesday, they left them on. Friday, they take them off. I'm telling you, Friday, there'll be 65, 70% of people still masked up for no reason. These people are insane. It's a very discouraging aspect of this in the last year, is just how much people want to comply, who want to virtue signal, who want to say, look at me. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't make any sense, but I am here to show that I will do what I'm told. It's really sad, and it remains sad. It's going to be worse when you're allowed to go maskless and people still mask up on like nice warm summer days. But I want to get to the president, that goofy press conference. But Joe Rogan, we got to play this because this, you must understand, as you're listening to it, is considered controversial in today's day and age. That, to me, is frightening.
And people say, do you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Yeah. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself. You should, if you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
But there's a lot of jobs that will tell you need to have this.
Well, that's what's starting to happen now.
People are worried about them doing it for their children. And we talked about this earlier. Yeah. There's that you might have to have your children vaccinated. And, you know, I can tell you as someone who's both my children got the virus, it was nothing. I mean, I hate to say that. If someone's children died from this, I'm very sorry that happened. I'm not in any way diminishing that, but I'm saying the personal experience that my children had with COVID was nothing. One of the kids had a headache. The other one didn't feel good for a couple days. Yeah. Like maybe, I mean, not feel good. Like no big deal. No coughing. Right. No achy. No like in agony. There was none of that. It was very mild. It was akin to them getting a cold.
Yeah, and you
canceled. See you later.
That is amazing. And I heard it, I saw it, and I said, yeah, I've kind of said the same thing for months. I think most people look at their children, if they're young, fit, healthy, and say, and the virus is not really a threat anymore because so many people are vaccinated, so many people have the antibodies, and they're not, and they're outside, and it's spring, it's summer. So you're going to insist young children, 10, 12-year-olds get a shot to protect them from something that is no threat. That's not looking out for your kids. That's not looking out for their best interest. That's bowing to pressure. That's bowing to pressure from the mob, like so many other things in society today. But that to me was incredible because I listened and then immediately see all the reactions. Oh, Spotify might take that down. They might again a push to get to ban Rogan, to take him off Spotify, to censor him. And I'm going, for what? For what? So you're not allowed to speak ill of the injection.
What do you think? Like, what do you think it is that like he appears to be an easy target for people? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do they
want him on the? I'll tell you, that's a good question because they want him on their side. See, some people are committed to the other side, committed to the resistance. That would be, Tucker Carlson. That would be whatever, Laura Ingraham or Ben Shapiro, those people, they're hopeless. They're on their side. Rogan kind of floats in the middle, a libertarian, kind of a guy who said he loved Bernie Sanders. He goes back and forth. He's not a committed anything. And so they're saying, we got to get him on our side. Obviously they got Tucker over there. They got Ben Shapiro over there, Dan Bongino over here. We want the big guy. We want Joe Rogan. And when he strays, when he wanders over to that side, they get nervous. They don't like it. And again, the reflex response is take it off the air.
Yeah.
Censor him. Remove those comments. It's just so insane.
It's weird. It just feels weird sometimes how they pick and choose because it's like, look at Dana White, right? Like Dana White's not backing down, and he has actual kind of aggression in his voice. Where he's going. Dana White's opinions of this stuff. You could easily go after him, but they choose not to. They go after somebody who's having a reasonable, measured conversation. Now, granted, he has a mass audience, the biggest audience in podcasting, but it's just wild how they pick.
It's just, they don't want anyone stepping out of line. We have to be, it has to be complete consensus. And I'm not sure what's going to happen on this, when everyone who's eligible gets the vaccine and wants the vaccine and there's still holdouts. You hear it from Joy Reid and friends saying, oh, those are Trump people. Or Juan Williams said it yesterday. The Trump people, the older white Trump supporters don't want the vaccine when the numbers are higher among Black and Hispanic people who don't trust the vaccine or don't want the vaccine, particularly young people. So they're going to do things like require vaccine passports to travel. They're going to do things like restaurants saying you can't come in here until you prove you get the vaccine, then you're going to have a real societal issue here where, about rights and freedom and liberty. Can you stop someone from getting on a plane if they're healthy and they have no symptoms and, maybe they have a negative test, but they didn't take the shot? Can you stop them from getting on a plane? That is coming. That's going to be the next big front in the culture war. So get ready for it. But now we do have a concession from our frail, kind of incoherent commander-in-chief, who did a bizarre press conference when he did the old man walk out to the podium wearing sunglasses and a mask to say you don't have to wear a mask. The purpose of the press conference was to say you don't have to wear a mask, and just to be safe, he wore a mask, just like he did on the Zoom call with world leaders about climate change. It was a Zoom call that looked like the Hollywood squares. They each had a square. And the only world leader who was masked up, and we're talking, Europe and Euro weenies and real hardcore lefties, the only one wearing a mask was our president, who had a mask on and no American flag. It was a terrible look, but he was there to virtue signal. They were asked about it. Jen Psaki was asked about it, said he was sending a message. So he's completely vaccinated. He's alone in a room, and he wore a mask to send a message. And I guess he said yesterday that's why he wore a mask to the press conference, to tell people you no longer have to wear a mask. But he did get asked a tough question. Can we hear Biden getting grilled about masks yesterday?
One at a time.
If the risk is so low outdoors, why doesn't this new guidance apply to everybody?
Because the science indicates that the most certain way to make sure it doesn't spread if both people have been vaccinated, the people you're with, and you're outside.
And you chose to wear a mask, sir. You chose to wear a mask. You chose to wear a mask as you walked out here. What message were you sending by wearing a mask outside alone?
By watching me take it off and not put it back on until I get inside.
Do you have any preconditions before a meeting with Vladimir?
What a joke. Honestly, he's wearing sunglasses, aviators, to a press conference. And by the way, he's in the shade. It's all about optics. And look at me, I'm wearing a mask, and I took it off and I'll put it back on. It's just so silly. But again, my takeaway is there's grown men. Hell, I tweeted about Eric Swalwell. He tweets, "Thank you, POTUS." When Biden said you can take your masks off when you're outdoors if you're vaccinated, he said, "Thank you." A grown man. And I realize he's a bad example because he's such a joke of a grown man. But grown ups are saying, "Hey, did you hear? Joe Biden, Charlie Baker said we can go outside, we can take a walk with the dog, and we can take our masks off." Grown ups. What is wrong with you people? It's sad. It's truly sad to hear that. But and by the way, I don't want to play any more of it, but he said we could have a picnic in the park without masks on. I was waiting, holding out hope, saying, please, Mr. President, please give us permission to have a picnic in the park. And what do you know? He did.
He's exceeding expectations in advance of July 4th. It's a wonderful thing.
Our benevolent dictator is allowing us to have a picnic in the park. We know masks were not necessary outdoors. We've known it for a year. It's all virtual sign. It's all just a pink ribbon. Look at me. I care more than everyone. And now it's over. And I'm afraid some people aren't going to let it go that easy. Some people you're going to see Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, next week, next month, 4th of July, Christmas, Easter, whatever, still be masked up just to show how much they care.
Yeah, you're gonna lose your shit on Friday. You're gonna see. You're right.
I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna do what Tucker said. Call the cops. If you see people masked up, I'm gonna call the cops. They got a kid here, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old. Hey, the coach in Oregon. They changed the rule after the girl fell at the finish line. The girl we talked about, Maggie Williams, face first at the finish line. They changed the rule. The runners in Oregon don't have to wear masks anymore. So there are some people opening their eyes and waking up. One last.
Would have been nice if he had the balls to fight for that in advance of somebody potentially.
You're right. You know why, Dave? You know why I didn't? Because in his mind, he's one of those. He's an Oregon liberal, and he said, we got to do it. And I think when she fell, he started thinking, this is wrong. Making children do this, taking this risk, and so he got on board with the anti-maskers who have the science. If you believe in science, you certainly don't believe in masks outdoors or masks on kids, but these aren't science people. They're anti-science. They're cultists, and we got lots of them in New England. We got lots of them in Boston. So the battle has just begun. And on Friday, we'll see how many people take their masks off and throw them in the river, because the river's already full of, those plastic masks. And most of the litter you see on the street now is old masks. But one quick Biden note before we get to Bobby Burak from Outkick is, and this seemed like an Onion or a Babylon Bee headline, but Hunter Biden is going to be teaching a course, guest lecturer at Tulane, and the topic and the subject is fake news. Now, that I realize they're liberal privilege, Biden privilege. The guy belongs in jail, or at least in rehab, and he's out there peddling his book. But he's going to teach a course in fake news. I mean, he could teach kids something. He could teach them about, making money on your father overseas. He could teach them about getting away with stuff. That should be a course Biden teaches, getting away with stuff 101, because he's gotten away with so much. But can you imagine this cokehead doing a lecture to college kids? He can't. You've seen him do interviews. He's not that bright. His brain is fried, and he's going to be a lecturer at Tulane. If that's not, Tulane's a good school that costs a lot of money. I can't believe the parents are going to send their kids to that school and say, hey, hopefully you'll get in Hunter Biden's class and you'll learn something. But hopefully one of those kids, or some of those kids, smuggle in a recorder or turn their phones on and record the lecture, because that could be performance art. That could be hilarious. But we'll see how that goes. And he needs to find a job, man. That book ain't selling. He needs to find a way to pay the bills. But that is it for our I guess it's not our draft preview. We're going to do our draft preview tomorrow. Draft is tomorrow night. Tonight is the State of the Union, followed by Tim Scott's response.
Turtle Boy's sneaky into the college football scene, so he might actually have some good draft analysis. By the way, he's sneaky into.
I like the draft.
Yeah,
I mean, we used to old days mock Max Kellerman. I mean, not Max Kellerman, Mel Kiper. Now everyone loves it. Everyone's in the draft, especially if the Patriots are involved. Bill Belichick has never taken a QB in the first round. Never. Cleveland, New England, never. He needs a quarterback. Cam Newton stinks. Everyone knows it. I don't know if this is the way it's going to work, but San Francisco drafts Mac Jones. He's ready to play right away. He's smart. He's mature. He's an Alabama guy. That means Jimmy Garoppolo is expendable. So that means immediately the Patriots make their best offer and bring back Jimmy G. If they don't draft Mac Jones, if they do what Kellerman wants and draft based on skin color, they take Justin Fields. He might not be ready. Garoppolo starts. He backs up. He's not available. So if you're in New England and a Patriots fan, you're rooting for Mac Jones to go to Alabama for two reasons: to get Garoppolo to New England and to drive Kellerman nuts. That's not a bad thing. That's always a noble goal. So we will see what happens. We will talk. We will hook up shortly with Bobby Burak from Outkick and cover all this stuff, because that's what he does. That's his beat. But
and to all of our YouTube live and to our Facebook live viewers, we'll post the full version of Bobby Burak. We caught up with him last night. We'll post it fully on our live channel.
You didn't give me any YouTube comments. I thought you were going to read the YouTube comments. And
everybody was just in agreement with you about the masks and stuff like that. So nothing crazy in the comments field. A lot of people.
I got to go over them one of these days. I'm too busy, doing a show here. So you got to mark them down and something. Write them down. Give me some good comments and get people. There are a lot of comments there.
A lot of people in the comments feel like they're on the right side of the mass history. They're with you. I got guys going to high school football games with no masks on, stuff like that. So they're on the right side.
Yeah, the tide is turning. People are reading up. People understand it's stupid, and they're tired of it. They're just sick of it. I mean, you're especially exercising, bike riding, jogging. They're going, what the hell is it? It makes no sense. It never did make any sense. It's time to open up everything. Not Friday, today. How about that? Everybody go outside today. It's a nice day. Go outside, rip your mask off, and breathe the air. That's the only answer to this tyranny. It's over. All right, it's over. And if you're young and healthy and 20 years old and you eat right and you exercise, you don't need the vaccine.
Don't say it. We don't need those emails and those calls today.
YouTube going to take us down now?
Yeah, probably. We don't need this. All right.
All right, let's try to hook up with our man Bobby Burak.